Trump understands or believes that it is the European aristocrats who were behind any perception of election interference and a color revolution in this country during the previous administration. And he's out to get the Bank of England and those banks who are massively short in London. Now, all the gold that's been coming back, could it be that it's been covering the short positions of the banks here in the States who, when they short on COMEX, they go long in London, they bring it back, they call it tariffs. It's not tariffs. It's never been about tariffs. It's been about reshoring. So maybe if you want to walk that fine line of conspiracy and reality, and this is coming more from Tom than it is from me, but I think it's a very intriguing idea, is that all that gold coming back, maybe it's being used to cover the short positions of the banks in the States with the idea that it's going to go to the Treasury in terms of their gold acquisition for whatever their plans are with gold revaluation or pegging it to the bond market, as I believe, and to cover their balance sheet. And we're this close away to some sort of a systemic moment in London where the inventories, in particular of platinum and silver, are down to less than 1 day's worth of trading. And if these continued delivery requests happen, you're talking an existential threat for some of the biggest banks in Europe, and Trump is out to get them, is what Tom is saying, out to get the Bank of England and out to get these aristocrats that are the bankers in Europe by having some form of a delivery default in London that would very quickly trigger a systemic chain reaction that could bring down some of the biggest banks in Europe, as the banks in the United States have quietly covered. Now, could that happen? Don't know. All I'm telling you is the amount of gold coming into the COMEX every single week is unlike anything anyone has ever seen, and we are now net importers of gold for the first time, really, ever, other than World War II, when everyone sent us their gold as part of the World Reserve Standard. And, you know, since then, maybe 1 or 2 months here and there, but every other, the trend has been net exporters for the United States as far as gold is concerned. My whole career, which is going on 36 years.
Now, it's interesting because I think it was in March or in April, I may stand corrected here, but the U.S. imported so much gold that it actually hurt the trade balance. Right. And Trump wanted to put on tariffs on gold imports from Switzerland. I remember that. So it was like my follow-up question there to you, Andy. Like, wouldn't that be showing up in the trade balance? I think we got numbers for August just recently as well. When it comes to those gold imports, wouldn't they be showing up there?
Well, some of it is, sure. Some of it is. And that's why I go back to what Vince is saying. How much of it is coming in ways that doesn't trigger it that way, using proxy banks, using sovereign wealth funds. And the interesting thing about it is that, you know, when you talk about the worthlessness of the mainstream media, who really hasn't done anything in this country but foment divisiveness, I mean, you would think that when the United States becomes a net importer of gold, going back to any time since World War II, where the amount coming in is that we know of north of 150 billion since November. And you know, there's a lot more in that coming in. But the questions aren't even being asked, who's doing this? And although obviously markets are meant to have anonymity attached to them, but where is really mainstream? Why is it that you have to hear from alternative media that this is going on, and what does it truly mean? I would guess that some of it has shown up. To your point, it did show up, but not all of it is being reported. If the idea was to use gold and reintegrate it into the monetary system, we're seeing it across the global south. We really are. We're seeing it massively being reintegrated into the plans, the settlement system of the Shanghai Metals Exchange, expanding their vaults throughout the whole Belt Road Initiative. The first one was built in Hong Kong. The next one is under construction in Saudi Arabia, so that they can trade their local currencies over the M-Bridge technology and settle imbalances like that in gold, where China has now, in an effort to internationalize the yuan and the Shanghai Metals Exchange, made digital yuan immediately convertible into gold, not converting back to dollars. This is going to be the rails of their payment system. I believe that gold will have a different role in the United States, but equally as compelling in terms of its monetary future. And any way you look at it, I just think that gold will be reintegrated into the monetary system. And the fact that the government just made silver a critical mineral here in the United States, we're seeing massive amounts of silver too, like literally billions and billions and billions and billions and billions every week coming in. And now it's a critical mineral. They just put a floor under the price as far as I'm concerned. Things are different, Kai. For the first time, the focus isn't on U.S. treasuries. In fact, the people who promoted it are saying maybe back off and buy gold. The focus isn't on these traditional assets that are now changing, and it just feels different at a level that would perpetuate legitimacy, that would accentuate legitimacy instead of fighting against the wind forever. It's like we got the wind at our back right now from the highest up of the food chain in terms of finances.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just found the number. $9.6 billion were imported. Gold was imported into the U.S. in July. That's the latest number we got. And it's called non-monetary gold. So, which is an interesting number as well. And a bit of jewelry, 0.6 billion as well, if you want to add that to it. No, it's interesting. I'm really curious what the latest numbers for August and then, of course, September look like, because trying to understand what the trend is, because it wasn't really ETF buying that's pushed gold that much higher, that really pushed momentum higher. Of course, it's adding to the momentum, but it's definitely not the single driver. I don't think the generalists are even paying attention yet. Although, fun fact, I went in preparation of an interview this morning. I went onto the CNBC website and a German economic financial paper website as well. Gold is mentioned. I was surprised to see it on both websites, at the top, right?
And it's probably in some passing, and nothing substantial. You talk about momentum. Michael Oliver is a very interesting man, and he focuses primarily on momentum in a technical respect. And he said that gold has just blown through a channel, if you will, a annual momentum channel, and was broken last month. And he would expect this month, which is ending today or tomorrow, to see another all-time monthly high, as we've already just beaten the intra-month high. He thinks it's just beginning, and his real focus is on silver. And he basically thinks that silver is going to rip the lid off of the market, as he goes on to say it is revising sharply upward in their mind, and that the technicals of both price and long-term momentum, he believes, are telling the market what is already occurring and what's about to occur. A repricing, he says, of silver's reality, whatever that means. So I've never heard him so bullish on silver. He was saying that if it follows the previous cycles of 2010 and 11 or 1979 and 80, you can get as high as $100 or $200 on this move. But it's interesting, if you take the 45-year cup and handle of silver, which is now literally almost a double cup and handle, and 45 years, one of the most powerful technical moves period in technical analysis, the way that you would figure out where the next stop is and or where the target would be, and even if this analyst who was looking at it didn't know what it was, is you take the top of the cup in 1980, goes down to the bottom in the 90s to $4, goes back up to 50 in 2011, comes down and is making that final push. When it gets through that 50 level, you take the distance from top to bottom, which would be 50 to 4, that's 46, add it to the top, 50 plus 46, your next target's $96. That's what Michael is saying right here. 100 plus, he thinks, if compared to 2010 and 11, that's where we'd end up.
That'd be phenomenal. But do you think we're going to bounce off the $50 for a bit here, or are we going to just break right through it?
The markets, for as far back as I can remember, find these big numbers, like gold at 2000, and it would just keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And when it goes through, it's gone. It just depends how many times does it take to challenge it. And I would argue that, 50 is just psychological. If you go back and look at 1980 and 2011, it was a cup of coffee long that it hit 50 for both times. And so what kind of resistance really is there other than, mostly psychological? And, Kai, who the hell knows what real price discovery is in gold and silver? It's not even debatable that the central banks of the West have held down gold and silver for a long time. When real price discovery happens, because I believe that you can only manipulate a market for so long by pushing it in the direction that it is going. And it was easy for the West to do this for a long time. But you have a whole bunch of players around the globe that are coordinated, motivated, sophisticated, wealthy. They know what we're doing by holding down the paper price. They're standing for delivery, largely in London, in order to beat us at our own game. And now the folks in the West here get it. The big traders, either they were tapped on the shoulder and said, start bringing this shit back, pardon my French, and you can call it tariffs all you want, to fool the public, it's not tariffs, it's about reshoring. Get it back. And that's what they're doing. Truly, that is what they're doing. And that's why I just think that it's easy for people like you and I and the people listening to this show, Kai, to get wrapped up in recency bias. We've been beaten up so badly over so many years in an environment that was counterintuitive to logic and our belief structure. But our belief structure and logic and mathematics have a way of playing out over time. You can't hide from math. And a lot of this is just simply math and logic, and it's finally playing out. I think the sky's the limit. So will it bounce through 50? Eventually. Will it do it first time? Maybe. Maybe not. It's irrelevant. I think ultimately sky's the limit once it does get through, though.